So what are the main tools we have in our disposition to deal with this, to demonstrate happiness contained in this value container? There is a lot of tools that exist in the dating community. I've been trying all of them, but I'm going to give you the purest form of the tools you can use, which in my opinion is the optimized way to do it for your evolution. This is what is going to be optimized and avoid you many useless trouble. This is going to be those tools. The first thing to understand is that when it comes to your sexual mating value, what you want is to be constantly working on your alpha vibe. We will do it with the thing we will see later. Later, I will give you the ultimate way to have all of these things getting aligned and going perfectly in the right way. But the idea behind is that you have to be constantly working on your alpha vibe so that no matter what you do when you're not escalating, first escalating demonstrates the alpha vibe, but even if you're not escalating, for example, you're just talking about anything, small talk, it makes your sexual mating value go up because you look alpha. It demonstrates alphaness through your vibe, the way you talk, self-control, the fighter vibe. It looks like you don't give a shit about the negative, you only focus on the positive possibilities. You're creative, you have high level of moments of consciousness. We will talk about this later as well. You have social power. It looks like you anticipate positive, and it looks like you know what you're doing, and you have social intelligence while you're talking. You have sexual breath selection as well because you have been escalating before, so now everything you do looks like you can escalate, and we'll be talking about this as well. But the first thing I want you to consider is that no matter what you will be doing, it should always be making your sexual mating value go up because it demonstrates your alpha vibe. And this is why you will have to be working on this as well a lot. So yeah, basically the more time you will spend with her, the more alpha you will look if you have this alpha vibe down. So this is more like a passive thing. This is a passive tool that will always be there. You work on it on your everyday life, and it will become a passive skill, passive tool that is always activated all the time, no matter what you do. But for now, let's introduce the first active tool that you're going to use. This is what we will call VIHC, verbal indication of happiness contained. What it means is that with your words, with what you're saying, in parallel of your vibe, which shows alphaness, you're going to say things verbally that indicate that there is happiness contained in the value container that you are after. Here, escalation. How do you do this? Remember what are the positive and negative value that can be contained in any value container when it comes to interacting with a woman. Sexual arousal, ego, social things, and the fears, right? And so basically we can have types of VIHC toward any of those dimensions. We can do a VIHC, verbal indication of happiness contained in escalation, concerning the sexual arousal part, or concerning the ego part, or concerning the social things part, or concerning the fears part, right? So we can snipe actually which one we want to fix. Depending on this, this is why the more social intelligence you will have, the more experience you have, the better it will be actually, because you will be able to know what is going wrong, and so you can snipe it and you know what to fix. But let's zoom out and look at the more general way, so that you don't even need to really understand what's going on. You will have a general picture of what to do in any case. When it comes to sexual arousal, how do we VIHC sexual arousal? Basically, remember the thing we've been talking about when it comes to being alpha. There was the alpha vibe, but there was other things as well. If you indicate verbally that you have some of those things, well, what does it do in her perception? Oh, he has this and this and this, so he might be alpha. Remember, it's an indicator, he might. But more precisely, what it does, and this is the really interesting thing, what it does is that it will change the interpretation she makes of every other thing that you will do later. And this is really the real thing that we want about VIHC, is to change her interpretation of things. For example, when we talked about the fact that she might think that if she lets you escalate, then you will do it again and again and again and never stop. If she thinks this and you escalate, she interprets this. If you give a verbal indication of the absence of this suffering element, for example, you clearly talk about it, you come up to talk about your preferences with women, and you talked about the fact that you really enjoy being very flirty with women, because actually it's something that is very pleasurable, but at the same time you still like to take your time and enjoy it. This is for enjoyment, not for the destination, but more for the enjoyment of the escalation itself, of the sexual arousal. This would be one way among a lot of ways to VIHC this problem verbally. And then after this, if you escalate, her interpretation is different. She doesn't think this anymore. She doesn't think it anymore. And yeah, this is the main thing about VIHC, is because when you give the verbal indications of happiness content, it changes the perception of the things you will do later. This is why it's really interesting and important. If you give informations that, for example, don't say things that are wrong, say real thing. If you want to demonstrate to someone that there is happiness content for them in a value container, it has to be real, it has to be true. Don't lie, make it real. So take the thing that you have in your life that are proper to being alpha. Make a list about the thing and make it a habit to review it and to be able to talk about it when people ask you questions about you. If you give those indications that you have those things that are likely to mean that you are alpha in your life, then later everything you do, for example, you let her pause and you say nothing, she is way more likely to think that you do it out of control, out of relaxation, out of just enjoyment, out of a way to sexualize, than before if she doesn't think you are that alpha, and she will interpret it as if you're just nervous, you just don't know what to say, you're afraid. This is two different interpretations. When you give those verbal indicator of happiness content, it will change the interpretations of everything you do later. This is why this is so interesting. And so with this tool just about verbally indicating all of those elements that might be positive or the absence of negative for her that we've been talking about and studying in this value container, then you can fix the problem in the parallel of your alpha vibe in your behavior, showing self-control, confidence, leading, social power, etc. At the same time, when you give those informations, it helps her to understand you, to understand who you are, and in this regard, it creates a sense of security when it comes about physical security. You're not going to rape her. You're a normal human being. She understands you better. Now she knows, okay, I understand who he is. And at the same time, it shows that actually you're not that obsessed about just escalating. You're not just obsessed about it. This is something you like. You know it's optimal to do it. But at the same time, if the situation is not appropriate, you can do other things if it's necessary. You don't take it too seriously neither. And in this regard, it will help for the ego. Because otherwise, if she's fine with escalating, you have to do it, remember. But if she's not fine with it, and she sees that you keep being obsessed about escalating, now it will trigger the ego because she thinks, well, it means that the only value he sees in me, the only positive value, the only happiness that he sees contained in talking with me is just going for the sex and sexual arousal. And in this sense, she will interpret this as he's not that attracted to me actually, paradoxically. If she shows that she's not comfortable with escalating, and in this regard she sees that that's the only thing that you want, and you will not really be okay with other things, then in this case she thinks, yeah, he doesn't think I'm that attractive. I'm attractive enough for having sex, but not enough for just enjoying talking with me. without necessarily going toward the sex. Once again, it's an interpretation. She interprets that if you keep escalating, even if she doesn't really want it, and you keep trying, she will interpret this as meaning this. But this is an interpretation. So here again, remember, VIHC, you can change it verbally by either talking directly about it or indirectly by talking other things that will make her understand, oh well, so if he looks that obsessed about just escalating, actually this is not what it implies. I have to interpret this another way. This is the logic behind. I'm not going to give you routines about how to do it. I want you to come with the things by yourself. I want you to think about it by yourself, because otherwise it will make you very fake, and I don't want this. I want you to be authentic and truly make up your own mind around those topics. This is important. But well, I mean, you don't need to VIHC to solve any problem. You can do it indirectly without talking about it. And this is one of the ways. Just chilling and talking about other things is going to fix it. We don't have to be stuck into one way of doing things. It just depends about what is the most optimal in every situation, depending on what you feel like, what would be your preferences. I'm just giving you the optimal way, but then once again, who can do the more, can do the less. So I give you the weapons after you do what you want. But so now, one of the problems that might create this idea of VIHC is that it might give the impression that either, here again, you're trying to solve things because you're obsessed about going for the sex, which actually, if it really is the case, then you have to fix it. You have to be obsessed about sexual arousal, but not about the sex. The sex is just a consequence. It comes at the end of the journey of talking with her in a way that creates sexual arousal. What you have to be obsessed about is the escalation itself, the sexual arousal that comes from it. Having sex is just something that happens at the end. It's just something. You don't give a shit. You want the arousal. It can happen now. You don't need to have sex to be sexually aroused. This is really something that you have to get down. And this will be one of the things that have to come through. And it will be one of the things that will help you to demonstrate that there is no negative ego content in escalation, or that there is no pressure content in escalation. Remember, she might say no because she thinks that you will keep going after. If she understands that you have this mindset, now, most of the things, they go away, the suffering possibility, because she understands, oh, okay, so the real interpretation of why he escalates, this is this. So now it's okay. And once again, if you escalate perfectly, she will understand it from the start, because you will escalate in a way that creates so much pleasure that she knows, he escalates for the pleasure itself. She gets it. But if you are not that sharp in your escalation, then here she might think, okay, I interpret that he escalates for this and this reason. And now it creates suffering content, potentially. And so now you have to demonstrate that it's not the case, either by the fact that you talk about other things. For example, it's one of the natural way that she wants to see. Actually, if she pushes you back, like, wait, I need time, that might be one of the reasons she wants to see that you're not completely obsessed about going for the sex. So now she knows that you really like her. But this is not the only way to show this. You can talk about it. You can verbally indicate. Really, that is way more powerful. And once again, come with your own ways of indicating this. Be smart about it. I want you to be creative, to come up with your own way of indicating those things. But so in order to not have this problem of doing VIHC and then she thinks, yeah, he's still trying to just fix the problems. He still just wants to go for the sex. Then in this regard, we have another very powerful and natural tool, which is just asking questions, which now makes it symmetric. You give indications about you and then you ask about her. And she talks about her, then she might ask you back about you, and now you have a reason why you talk about you. And even if she doesn't ask back, this is the law of symmetry, to just talk about you as well. So you will do like a ping pong like this. She talks about her, you talk about you. And when you talk about you, let's say she asks you a question about you, anything, just small talk. Okay, and what are you doing now, by the way? Now, what are you doing in your life? Where are you from? any kind of question. Here, what will be the most interesting things to answer? Really, think about it. Think about it, really. What people are after. Remember, when you are with your friend and you're just having fun and just enjoying, it's a thing. Now, when you are with a new person, what is it about? It's like a business, actually. There is an exchange of potential value. You want to know if the person has happiness to give you, if you can get happiness from interacting with them and especially from making a bond with them. For a woman, it's the same. She talks with you, you just approached her. One of the things that she's the most interested about is to know if you have happiness to give her. And what is VIHC about? It's about showing that there is happiness contained. So this is precisely the things that she wants you to talk about. Think about it. There is nothing sneaky about it. You're just giving her what she wants. She wants to know if there is happiness contained in you for her. And that's what you're indicating. You're talking about the happiness that is contained. It's like a business. There is this dating coach, which is called Todd Valentine, that made a lot of videos about the idea that talking with a woman is exactly like selling in a way. When you approach a woman, when you want to buy a car, you go to the place to buy the car and the salesman, he talks with you, and yeah, he can talk about, he can chill, have fun, and even if you take some time to chill, it has to be in the context of going for what we are about, which is actually the arousal. Remember, that's the main thing. Here in this new case, it's not the arousal, it's not the sexual arousal, it's the car that you are after. It would be the same thing. You're after the car. But if he just chills and talk about anything, good, you might have a good friendship with him. But you are here for the car, so yeah. Now tell me if there is happiness for me in this car. That's why I'm here talking with you. I don't really want to be a friend with you. What I'm after is the car. Tell me there is happiness in the car, right? Here is the same. The central thing we are after here is the sexual arousal. It might be also the other things, for example, chilling, humor, have fun, those more social things. But remember, you can have this with friends. If this is what's going on with the woman, then let's just be friends. Let's be friends with the woman. That's enough. You don't need more than this. You don't need to be dating. That's what you're after. You can approach a woman and become extremely friends. It's okay if that's what you want. If you want more, if you want to be dating this woman, if you want to have sex with this woman, if you want to marry this woman, you need to be going forward what it's about, which is the sexual arousal, not the friendship thing. So here is the same. Let's talk about what we are here for. If we want to be friends, then yeah, we will chill, we will have fun. That's perfect. That's the way to show that we have happiness to exchange as friends. But here, it's not about being friend-zoned. It's not about being friends. It's about dating. Is there happiness in the sexual arousal for both of us? And you give the information. So when she asks you questions, she wants to know, have you some forms of alphaness? Do you have experience? Pre-selection, knowing what you do. Remember those indications. What are the interpretation about you escalating? Does she risk being pushed into doing things she doesn't want or not? What is your mindset around it? She wants to know, maybe not directly, because the problem is if talking about it makes it heavy and then the fun is not here anymore and then there is no arousal at the same time. And we want to be able to combine everything together, remember. So when you do the VIHC, you have your alpha vibe in parallel, you still have fun at the same time, you combine everything together. And actually the next video will be about this. But now let's finish with this video first. So yeah, when she asks you any kind of question, what she's really waiting for is two things. The first is just to create some momentum, to get out the parasite thought. Small talk is about this. This is what small talk is about. You talk about anything, what have you done yesterday, blah, 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 because it helps to get in the state of absence of negative thoughts. That's why we do it. And this is why we want to make her participate. We want to ask her questions so that she talks, so that because she talks, she gets the momentum, she gets in the flow, she gets the negative thought out of the head, she gets some creativity. She doesn't panic, she doesn't have performance anxiety. You make her talk. So she participates and her negative thoughts get out of the head. No more performance anxiety. That's why actually you want to make her participate, really. But at the same time, what she would like to happen, moreover than this, is to know if there is happiness contained for her. And you remember, it's not about being friends. It's about the sexual arousal. So that's what you have to be indicating about. So talk about the things that make you alpha. Talk about the thing that explain that if you escalate, there is no negative things that are going to be contained. Talk about those things. And we've been studying this in the previous parts. So you know by heart what are the positive and negative things that might be in need for her. Be creative about how to deal with it. And at the same time, doing the thing of having asking question, then she asks back, you VIHC, then you ask question, then VIHC and question again and again. You do like a boomerang, like ping pong, boom, 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 VIHC, question, VIHC, question, VIHC, question. You have the opportunity to lead a lot when you do this. You lead, you lead, you lead. You make her do things. You ask a question, she has to answer. You make her answer the question when you ask the question. Then it's your turn, you VIHC. You're leading, you're asking question back. You lead, you lead, you lead. Here again, alpha vibe. And in parallel of this, you want to be escalating anytime you can to create the sexual arousal. And in parallel of all of this, if possible, you want to, at the same time of doing all those things, you want to have fun at the same time. We will talk about it in the next video, don't worry. But right now, to finish this video, let's make a quick sketch so that you have all of this in a visual way. Then in the next part, we will talk about this idea of doing multiple things at the same time so you get how it works. Let's do it. So basically, it will just be like this. You have here escalation. Up. Escalation, that's like the main thing that you're after. Then it makes like a Triforce, you know, in Zelda, the Legend of Zelda, the Triforce. You have here, boom, VIHC, boom. Here you have questions that you will ask her. Yeah, where are you from? What are you doing now? And basically you will just be alternating between those things. As a default, you go for this one as a default. Now, if she doesn't want you to go further in the escalation, now you rely on those ones. You alternate between those ones, while at the same time checking all the time if you can keep escalating sometimes. So you will be on those one, alternating up between one and the other. And when you can, which means when the positive thing about escalation are demonstrated, you go back to escalation. And at the same time, if you can, you make it fun all the time up. It works with everything. While you're asking questions, while you're talking about the IHC, while you're escalating, you're making it fun. And now we will be talking about this, about doing multiple things at the same time. We will talk about this on the next video. One last thing to precise is that in parallel of all of this, you have your alpha vibe. That's the last thing really to talk about. And around this, we're going to put a lot of things that are going to be more internal, more about inner work. But before we jump on to the next video, let's talk about one last thing. About the act of coming in the interaction and escalating from the start. Why is it something that we really know? I remember some nights and even some day in nightclubs, I had the thing where those nights where it was really hard to approach women and get them interested. Some nights it's like this, and every time, the moment I start to have the balls to just approach and escalate a lot right from the start, up to the point where I see that she doesn't want more, and then here I stop and maybe even go back if necessary. From here, instantly, every interaction works and every girl is interested. Why? Because it is a huge indicator of happiness contained. For the reason that we talked before, it demonstrates alphaness, First, it shows willingness to escalate, so she doesn't think, yeah, this guy is just going to chill, to be like a friend, and there will never be sexual arousal, so I'm losing my time. No, she knows you can escalate, but at the same time, and more important, this might be the number one reason why we want to escalate at the maximum from the start. The other one would be because it creates sexual arousal, and so it captivates and it makes you look very alpha. But the thing is that if you escalate to the point where now she doesn't want more, you go to the limits, now you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity. You have the opportunity to show that you know how to handle this, in the sense that you are capable of showing that if ever she doesn't like your escalation, you are capable of seeing it, of backing off. Remember, one of the reasons why she would not want you to escalate is if she thinks that at some point she doesn't want any more, you're going to keep going. So she will say no from the start so that it doesn't happen. When you approach and you escalate from the start to the point that she doesn't want more, first, yeah, it creates all of those good things that we talked about, but at the same time, it shows, it gives you the ability, it gives you the possibility to show how you react to this, and then to show that you are capable of seeing it and of stopping and just going back normally and keep going normally at the same time without being affected. But we will talk about this later. It will be easy. Do you see how important that is? Okay, well, this is it for this video. Let's jump to the next video where we will talk about how to do those multiple things at the same time, because now it can look overwhelming, but with the next video you will understand that really it's not. It's easy. Let's jump into it.